afternoon, everyone. My name is Christine Zellers. I appreciate you joining us today. And I have with me Phong Palmier, who is part of my department, one of the consultants for FCHS in Cape May County. I am going to be recording this program. It's being recorded now, and we are going to use this on YouTube. I'll send out a link so that if you want to view or share this with anybody, you're welcome to do that. And I'm going to ask you to please turn off your camera if you do not want to be on camera. All right, let's get my slideshow up here. So just as a sidebar, as a little note, there you go. Can you see that, Phong? Okay. So as a sidebar and just as a little note, I wanted to make sure everybody understood that Zoom will not allow me to set up this meeting for 12:15, which is what time it starts. So for your information, we do begin at 12:45 or 12 o'clock, and we will end as promptly as I can at the end of the program at 12:45. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that so that you were not sitting and waiting next time if you decide to join us. So welcome to the first virtual Lunch and Learn of 2021. Happy New Year, everyone. It's nice to virtually see you again. For those of you that are new to Lunch and Learn, as I mentioned, we meet from 12:15 to 12:45, and that's the last Thursday of every month. And the only exception to that is we will not be having a Lunch and Learn in June, November, or December of 2021. So just so you know when you're tuning in. You can sign up or register for other Lunch and Learns that are coming up in coming months. And you can find those topics on our website, and I will share that information with you at the end of this webinar so that you are able to get registered for those if you so desire. Today's title for the Lunch and Learn is Beating the Winter Blues. So we'll get a little bit more into that in a minute. As I mentioned, I'm Christine Zellers, and I have Phong Palmier with me, and she's going to act as my MC, and she's the great Oz behind the scenes here doing things for us, letting people in. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, and she'll try to address them at the end or as we're going along. If she knows the answer, she'll give you the answer. Phong is the consultant for FCHS of Cape May County, as I mentioned. And I'm the FCH Assistant Professor for Rutgers Cooperative Extension to Cape May County. Today's presentation, I'm really thrilled to bring to you. It was written and created by Shannon Carter and Jenny Lobb. They're both from Ohio State University. So you may have heard me talk in previous engagements or previous presentations about Rutgers Cooperative Extension being a land-grant university, and that means that my job as part of the university is to teach to the community. And Jenny and Shannon, likewise, are at a land-grant university and work for University of Ohio, Ohio State, I'm sorry, which is also a land-grant university, so they're part of Ohio State Extension. They developed this great program and agreed to share it with me to present to you, and I'm really excited about it. I heard them present it at a conference, and I thought it was a great, something that we could really use in New Jersey during January. It's a different topic. I do have I did have time in the mental health and substance use disorder space, so I do have experience in this area. But these lovely ladies wrote this and had it all ready for me to present. So I really thank them both for allowing me to provide this wonderful information to all of you here in New Jersey. So to get started, let's just think a little bit about what it means to us. How does winter affect us? I know in the past, when I first started hearing about this topic, I thought, wow, winter makes me a little different than summer. It affects me a little differently. So let's think about and put in the chat how it makes you feel physically, emotionally, or mentally. Just drop a couple words in there, maybe one word about how winter makes you feel. How does it affect you physically, emotionally, mentally? Tired? Yeah, I agree. Today I feel really tired. Sad, dark days, isolated. Cold, yeah, It's really cold today. Unmotivated, right? Yeah, that's a good word. It's really hard to get you to get to want to do things. Blah, drained. Good. These are all really good, accurate words, I think, for how we feel during the winter, right? Yeah. So we're going to think about those words as we move on. We have 3 objectives, today's learning objectives. We're going to talk about and define seasonal affective disorder, which I'll refer to as SAD, is the acronym for that, the alphabet soup. And then we're going to learn some tips for beating the winter blues and setting SMART, which is S-M-A-R-T, all capital goals, to beat the winter blues. And at the conclusion of the program, probably once I can download everything from Zoom, I will send out a little email to everybody. I have your emails from your registration and let you read an article about setting SMART goals. And you can apply it to this, but there's other ways that you can apply it as well. So let's talk a little bit about seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, as I mentioned. It's a type of depression, and it's related to changes in the season. So it's specific to changes in the season. It usually begins and ends at about the same time of year every year for people that experience it. Most people with SAD have symptoms starting in the fall and then through the winter months. You'll see here the definition of depression is from the 5th edition of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And in short, depression is a mental health disorder that can result in severe impairment that interfere with or limit one's ability to carry out major life activities. So in other words, in this reference, it interferes with your ability to live, laugh, and love. So those things that we do normally to be able to, function during the day is this definition. And as I go through, I'm going to give you a lot of definitions, a lot of information, but I do always want to encourage people who might all, be experiencing some of these symptoms to seek help if you need it. It's really important. If we have a problem with our heart or our arm hurts, we go to the doctor. So it's important too, if your brain is, or your mental health is affected, you go see a doctor. So I'm going to encourage that quite a bit throughout the conversation. Oops, sorry. There we go. So SAD affects about 6% of Americans, but as many as 15% in the US may have a milder version that includes only some of the symptoms of SAD. And we refer to that as the winter blues. So attributes that may increase, your sadness or SAD is that you're female. So sorry, ladies, your risk or your diagnosis is 4 times more likely in women than men for SAD. And, that could be maybe perhaps that's because more people go ahead and, women go ahead and go to the doctor for it and therefore are diagnosed. But, the statistics show that if you're female, you're more likely to be diagnosed with seasonal affective disorder. Living far from the equator is another issue. So, obviously here in New Jersey, we get less light at this time of year. So SAD's more frequent in people who live far north or south of the equator. So for example, 1% of those who live in Florida and 9% of those who live in New England or Alaska suffer from SAD. So you can see where we get less light, less time out in the sun in the winter, being out in that natural light, it does have an effect on the ability or the increase of SAD. Also, if you have a family history, so a family with other types of depression are more likely to develop SAD than people that have families with no depression. Having depression or bipolar disorder, the symptoms of depression may worsen with the seasons. So if you have one of these conditions, that it's more likely that you're liable to experience SAD. However, SAD is diagnosed only during seasonal depression. So you could have it contribute to it if you have depression or bipolar disorder, but SAD is a diagnosis unto itself. If you're younger, actually, you can have a higher risk of SAD than adults, than older adults. So SAD has been reported even in children and teens. So that's something to look out for in your family. If you have cause to feel that might be the case, then maybe you want to take the little one to the doctor and see about that. The causes of SAD are unknown, but research has found some biological clues to it. So people with SAD may have trouble regulating one of the key neurotransmitters involved in mood, which is serotonin. So one study found that people with SAD have 5% more serotonin transporter protein in the winter months than in the summer months. So higher serotonin transmitter protein leaves less serotonin available at the synapse, because the function of the transporter is to recycle the neurotransmitter back into the presynaptic neuron. People with SAD also may overproduce the hormone melatonin. So darkness increases production of melatonin, which regulates sleep and helps us. So when it gets dark out, we produce more melatonin that helps us go to sleep. So as winter days become shorter, melatonin production increases, and that leaves people with SAD to feel sleepier and more lethargic, like people were saying, unenergized, more lethargic, because it often has a delay in the circadian rhythms. So that's how those two chemicals kind of affect that. People with SAD may also produce less vitamin D. So people experiencing seasonal disorder have less vitamin D production. Vitamin D is really believed to play a role in serotonin activity. So vitamin D insufficiency may be associated with clinically sufficient depression symptoms. So all those chemicals are the basis for this. So it is a chemical-based issue. And again, a lot of people say, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, I got to get over this. But if it's really bad and you're unable to function, you that live, love, and laugh, then you do need to maybe go see somebody, because it's affecting your life. Just like, not being able to move your arm might, or something else, your leg. So let's talk about the symptoms of SAD. It's important to know if you're experiencing the symptoms. So if you have a change in appetite or weight, if your change in sleep pattern occurs, if you have if you're fatigued and decreased energy, an inability to concentrate, if you have irritability, social withdrawal, or sadness and anxiety, or a sense of hopelessness. So again, these are, everybody has a little bit of sluggishness, you feel drained, caused by that, outside fact that we don't have as much light here in New Jersey, and it's cold and icky out. We're not outside as much. We're not getting that daylight. So everybody probably could experience a little bit of it. But if you're experiencing these symptoms and they're extreme, then that's when you might want to talk to your doctor about, seasonal affective disorder. So what about the winter blues? So symptoms of winter blues are feeling sluggish and sleepy. You might have an increased or decreased appetite. You might have a depressed mood. You might feel less social. And these symptoms, as you can see, are not as severe as not as many as in the SAD disorder, but they're still there and they kind of overlap, but they're less extreme. So the winter blues are a less extreme form. Winter blues occur when we experience a decrease in natural lights in the winter month. This change the change in the light can actually change our brain chemistry, as we talked about. So levels of the neurotransmitter serotonin drop in the winter months, while levels of the sleeping promoting melatonin increase. So the drop and increase creates that change. The combination of changes in these two brain chemicals can lead to mild depression, or the more serious condition, SAD. So you can end up with winter blues or SAD. So what's the good news? So all this blah news, right? And do you like the background? I put the background in there to try and make everybody feel like I'm not sitting in New Jersey, and make everybody a little happier. The good news is that there are strategies that you can use to take care of your mind, your body, and lift your mood even during the winter. So let's talk a little bit about those. And I just want to point out, this winter is a different winter, one like we've never experienced before, because we're all socially isolated. So people might be experiencing right now, similar to some of the symptoms we're talking about here. They might be experiencing COVID fatigue. You might have heard that reference. We have social isolation. There's a change in how we are working and living and being social. So that is causing some people to feel some symptoms that they might not usually feel. And again, it's important to be aware of those. And you can use some of these strategies to even help, not just with beating the winter blues, but maybe even beating the COVID blues, because they might contribute to you feeling a little bit better during this time of social interaction being less. So unitask. So everybody's always excited to be able to multitask, especially us women, like we love to do 10 things at once, right? But that gets really overwhelming. And if you're feeling not yourself and a little down, then multitasking might be overwhelming to you. So try to unitask. Try to do only one thing at once. Live in the moment. Live in what you're doing. And that'll help to make you feel less overwhelmed. Try to turn those daily tasks into mindful moments. If you're sitting and watching TV, turn it off for a minute and just breathe. Just be in that moment. Or if you're playing with your children, your grandchildren, take a minute and be grateful in that moment. Being grateful and finding time to be grateful helps to bolster our mood too, as well. And try to take time away from technology, like unplug it. We are, people working from home now, we're on Zoom meeting after Zoom meeting. I mean, I've spent literally some weeks, 15, 20, 30 hours in Zoom calls. So that's a lot of time to be on a Zoom call, and that can be really overwhelming. So if you're finding that you're overwhelmed by that, then please, unplug, remove the tech from where you sleep, so don't have your phone next to your bed. Find ways to get rest away from that and do an activity that doesn't involve technology to get unplugged. Seeking new experiences can really transform us and make our world and situation seem a little bit different, and look at it with new eyes and purpose. So try something new. It might be that it spurs something greater for you, but doing new things can help to change, the way we're thinking. So cook something you've never tried before. I know a lot of people are doing that during COVID. I see a lot of people posting all these recipes, and people are doing all kinds of baking. Challenge yourself to write a short story about 3 unrelated things. So, use some writing skills and do some of those things to help you maybe be creative. Learning new things, engaging in hobbies, and practicing gratitude and kindness, they all help to engage the brain and creativity. So it'll give you a sense of purpose and a sense of overall wellness. We can get lost in time. So when we're creating, it could really take our mind off of things and make us feel better. And creative activities guide us into a state of focus and concentration that can be very similar to meditation. So an example I'd like to use there is maybe getting some coloring, like, do some coloring and adult coloring. They have all kinds of adult coloring books. You get some colored pencils and make you create something. Art and activities like drawing, painting, coloring, photography, and writing make natural mindfulness. So they can be a great way to calm your mind and improve your capacity, your focus, your concentration, and your inner peace and calm. So if you guys want to share some of the things you do for hobbies that make you relax, and maybe sharing will help someone else in the group to get something new to try and help them get through the winter with a little bit more mindfulness and calmness. If you want to put that in the chat, go ahead, feel free to do that. Somebody says jigsaw puzzles. I've never been a jigsaw puzzle person, but I am going to order one because I want to try one, because I know a lot of people are doing them now. So virtual book club. Oh, that's awesome. I love that idea. One of the nice things about book clubs is you can see people and socialize, but if you can do it virtually and replace that, that's awesome. Baking, knitting, sewing, scrapbook, solitaire with real cards. I like that you put real cards. That's good. You have them there to, be able to touch. I like that. Yeah, they're great ideas. Watercolor painting. I'm terrible. This person says, I'm terrible, but it's fun, right? Right. You don't have to be great at whatever it is, as long as it relaxes you. Refurnishing furniture. Yep, that's very relaxing too. Awesome, guys. That's great. Thank you for sharing. More time with my animals. Yep, that's a great thing. And that's been a nice thing about COVID. I don't know how they might all have some blues when we go back to work full time, right? And we're not with them so much, or out doing things on the weekend. It might not be as fun for the critters, but I'm sure they've enjoyed it up until now. All right, so let's talk a little bit about hibernating and, you know, the feeling we get from winter and what we can maybe do about it. So it's really natural to want to hibernate during the winter. You know, it's cold outside. We want to pull the covers overhead. We don't want to go outside, but it's really important to connect with others. And that's why I love that idea, you know, about spending more time with your animals even, or having the virtual book club, because even though we can't see people in person right now, that connection is important. So if you have a friend that struggles with depression, you might want to take time out to check on them by phone or have a Zoom with them, especially as the days are shorter and gloomier at this time of year. If you yourself are experiencing them, I know it's hard to reach out when you're feeling blue, but you know, trying to do that might really make you feel better. Watch a sitcom, watch a funny movie, or call a friend and talk about better times and laugh, you know, they might, or a family member, that might be a good way to lift your spirits. So try, you know, connecting somehow, even in these tough times of COVID. And I would highly recommend, personally, I've started doing this, stay away from the news. I put the news on for a half an hour a day. I listen to what's going on in the world, and then off it goes. Because if we sit and listen to that all day long, that in and of itself could, you know, really wear you down. So, you know, try to surround yourself with positiveness as much as you can. Sleep has proven to really help provide energy for the body, you know, body and the brain. It repairs cells and tissues, and it increases the blood supply to muscles. So our body produces valuable hormones during sleep that contribute to mood, and adults should aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. So I know that's difficult. I just did my second presentations, The Secrets of Sleep. I did one for a library up the road. I did one for the Ocean City Library back in November. And on our webpage, there's a recording of that. So if you want to watch that to get some helpful hints for sleep secrets, then please, by all means, go ahead and view that. But, you know, nutrition and wellness, like having healthy meals, staying away from sugary foods, and getting the proper sleep will really help you to feel better overall. I know that it's difficult to do, especially if you're experiencing some depression issues, but it's good to try to do that. So try to find ways that you can get that 7 to 9 if you can. I know not everybody can do that. So the other thing is to try to get outside. I know, like, especially today, it's really nasty out there. We have high winds, it's cold, but there's no substitute for natural light. So if you're working during the day, try to go out for a walk at your lunch break or on a break, as long as it's safe to do so. You know, it's not too cold or icy. Make sure to dress for the weather, have a change of shoes, put sunscreen on if you need it, but, you know, get out there and do, get some fresh air, take some deep breaths in that fresh air, so that you feel better. You might practice mindfulness by meditating while you walk. Pay attention to your surroundings, be careful. But think about the smells and the sounds. So we've been walking a lot more, you know, we can't go to the gym, we're outside walking more. And once in a while I'll say, oh, do you smell that? Somebody's cooking dinner. So pay attention to what's around you. Pay attention to how great the fresh air feels in your lungs. Use that as a pick-me-up. Let your mind focus on the present moment. So walk a little slower than you normally do, and bring your focus on the sensations of your feet as they lift and touch the ground. So that whole movement. If you notice that your mind's wandering during that time, just gently refocus on just walking. Keep an open awareness of everything around you. We don't want anybody to get hurt. But as you walk, as you end your walk, just take a minute and stand there, stand still, take a deep breath, and decide to bring the sense of awareness that you had during this mindful walk to the rest of your day. So as you're moving along your day, you can focus on that. This goes back to that unitasking, doing one thing at a time so that you can really focus on what's going on around you. 1 in 10 adults in the United States struggles with depression, and antidepressant medications are a common way to treat that condition. However, pills aren't the only solution. Research shows that exercise is also an effective treatment. Dr. Michael Craig Miller, who's an assistant professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, says that pills aren't the only solution. Research shows that exercise is effective. For some people, it works as an antidepressant, although exercise alone isn't enough for some with severe depression. So if you're experiencing severe depression and you're on medication, you obviously want to stay on it. But talk to your doctor about adding exercise in, because it might help to alleviate some of the symptoms that you're feeling while you stay on the medication, or if you're not on medication, it might help to alleviate some of the symptoms. Exercise starts a biological cascade of events that results in many health benefits, so that it offers protection against heart disease and diabetes. It can help improve sleep. It can lower blood pressure. High intensity exercise releases that feel-good chemical endorphin that results in that so-called runner's high, the joggers report. But, you know, for most of us, the real value is low intensity exercise sustained over time. That kind of activity really spurs the release of proteins called neurophotic or growth factors, which can cause nerve cells to grow and make new connections. These improvements in the brain function make you feel better. And again, Dr. Miller says in people who are depressed, neuroscientists have noticed that the hypothalamus in the brain, the region that helps regulate the mood, is smaller. Exercise supports nerve cell growth in the hypothalamus and improves nerve cell connections, which helps to relieve depression. So that's good advice from Dr. Miller. In the winter months, it can often be hard to find the motivation to work out. I agree, getting up in the morning to do that's hard. So especially when it's dark and cold, you're feeling tired, like we talked about in the beginning, you're stressed, you're overwhelmed. But physical activity can really give you a sense of empowerment and make you energized. So if you're really feeling tired, you feel like you can't get out and do that heavy workout, promise yourself a 5-minute walk. And once you get out there, maybe you'll decide to go 5 minutes more, but giving yourself that ability to go for that 5-minute walk could spur some other things. So maybe make that your goal every day. Some other tips to stay motivated and active in the winter is focus on activities you enjoy. So think of exercises that, you know, you can do that work together. So find a type of activity you enjoy, like maybe walking, spinning, swimming, take an aerobics class, kickboxing or dancing. Find something that's going to make you stick with it. And I know a lot of people aren't going to the gym now, but there's a lot of things online or on TV that, you know, you can join in a class that way if you're interested. But turn up the music and dance. You know, if that's something you love to do, you could do that. If you want to make exercise your social activity and you can do that safely, maybe, you know, take a class with a friend online, or maybe you could go for a walk and be socially distant outside. And then don't forget those pets, because they love their walks too. So you could take a pet for a walk. You want to be comfortable, so exercise shouldn't be painful. And you want to seek a doctor's advice before starting something new, and you want to dress appropriately for the activity. Reward yourself. Pair exercise you enjoy with something like, okay, after I do my exercise, I'm going to read a book or I'm going to watch a show. Do something, you know, to give yourself that healthy reward out of it. And then I mentioned in the beginning that you're going to want to set reasonable goals for the SMART, S-M-A-R-T, all capitals, goal process. And I will send you a link to an article about SMART. You can use this for exercise or other things. But SMART means, so the S is for specific, significant, strategic. And then M is for measurable, meaningful, motivational. A is for attainable, agreed upon, action-oriented, and acceptable. R is realistic, relevant, results-based, and rewarding. And T is for timely, time-based, task-oriented, trackable, and tangible. So you want to go ahead and set them in that order, so that that dynamic, thinking about those things to make obtainable goals for exercise. And like I said, I'll send that to you so you can take a peek at it. All right, so we're nearing the end of the program. I like to try to get this one done, especially on time, because I know folks are on their lunch. If you would be so kind to evaluate this program for me, you can hold up the QRL, which is the box there, and scan it with your phone and take the evaluation, or you can also take the evaluation at the link. And I'm going to put the link in the chat, so you can just click on it, and then you can go back to it after the program if you like. So you can go ahead and do that. That would be great. And then, sorry. To finish up, and Fong, if you want to release the poll for me, that would be wonderful. We have a poll that's going to pop up. You can answer the questions in the poll. That would be lovely. To kind of conclude here today, winter, it's not going to last forever. We all know that. And we've already made it almost completely through January. So we're right there. We're moving along to when it starts getting a little bit sunnier in New Jersey. But it's important to take note that many folks are feeling some of these symptoms that we discussed today, not just because of winter blues, but because of COVID fatigue. So it's always important to seek professional help if you have symptoms of depression or other mental health illnesses. It's just as important as, you know, if you twist your ankle or you have heart disease or cancer, you would go get help for those. And, you know, mental health is just as important, and emotional health is just as important as physical health. And, you know, sometimes mental health issues can affect your physical health. So seeking help if you need it, or encouraging a loved one to kindly seek it, might be helpful, or seeking that out. And I know a lot of people right now are finding help with teledocs. So by, you know, having that information available to them, and accessing their doctor through telehealth is another option. So consider that instead of putting it off. And then finally, these are the resources that, again, Jenny and the Ohio State ladies used. And this is my contact information. So if you need to reach out to me, I always enjoy hearing from all of you. I'm glad to try to find an answer to your question and correspond with you. My email is there. We have a lovely website for the Cape May County RCE. I have a FCHS website that's set up that is wonderful. So any of these resources, we're on Facebook. Please visit us there and look out for it. We will have, for those of you who are seeking wellness points, we have the registration, and I thank you for joining us. We have the registration and who attended, and we'll take the attendance sheet and make sure that gets over to the wellness committee so that you receive points for your attendance today. And if there are any questions, I'm glad to answer those as best I can, or if you need to hop off while we're doing the questioning, then please feel free to do so, and you can email me if you like. But thanks for joining us today.